Welcome back to my cylinder head channel. I got 4 cylinder heads on the workbench right now. And buddy, it's not even the whole collection. Before we jump headlong into today's video topic, let's go play a quick game of identify these cylinder heads. 1G, 2G, 2G, 2G.
That was easy.
The 1G head is the one that we're going to use on the Galant. This is my spare 2GS cylinder head. This is the 2GS that we've been polishing and sanding on, basically. This is the rough cut 120 grit surface. And then we have, of course, this G6K cylinder head, which is the GSX's original cylinder head, rebuilt for the 3rd time. Ready to go. When you get an up close and personal view on the rough cast cylinder head, you can see the surface imperfections and problems that are in the casting. The granularity of it all. There's some examples of the factory casting flash. You can see that stuff right there. Now let's take a look at the one that's been bead blasted. You can see some of that casting flash is gone. Some of it, the weak stuff, broke away and flew off. And that's kind of a good thing, but it's still clearly and evidently there. What isn't there so much is that really rough, grainy surface texture that you would have seen. Well, let's go back over here and compare that again. See that surface texture? Kind of bumpy, sort of non-reflective. Yeah. And this here is all flat and evenly colored. Well, I think that's a pretty good illustration of what bead blasting did. It appears that it could have saved a whole lot of time. Some of the areas, like down here, I'm able to sand and more carefully shape and do this kind of detail work in here. The bead blaster did a pretty good job. You can see this is one of those areas where it's going to be mostly concealed behind gaskets and flanges, but this is one of the areas where typically this doesn't seem to do so great of a job, like that little glob there. There's just no way for you to get it in there and remove it the way and in the shape that you need it to. So, and it doesn't take all of it off, but it does take a whole lot of the work and elbow grease out of it if you do use vapor or bead blasting. FYI. I'm not against it. Just because you didn't see me do it doesn't mean I don't like it. But the ultimate goal is to get to a finished product. Like, we're going to unwrap this here in a minute, like this one. And I'm going to show you the reason why I'm doing everything the way that I'm doing it on this build. When you look at the outside of the 4G63 cylinder head, the exhaust ports are pretty much the same size. You can see that on all of them. But what's strikingly different, we have little narrow pieces here underneath all of the cam caps. See that little narrow casting? And on all the 2G stuff, it's fat. And it doesn't matter whether it's a 94 late October production to a December 1999, which I don't even think they made them that long. Doesn't matter. They have the fat ones right here. You'll also notice the difference. And this little square thing, there's a large gap here that I can fit my finger in, and here it's really tight. So these are just the things you can see from the outside on the front. Other than that, it's pretty hard to tell them apart. You can also see that the provisions for the cam angle sensor are on every single one of these cylinder head models, and it doesn't matter when they were made, they're all tapped. It's the 1Gs that don't have that provision. You'll hear me say a lot of things that are very particular about these cars, about how I wanted to build mine and how I don't want to use the 1G or the 97 and 99 cam angle sensor. It's only a show car thing. There are even performance reasons for going to the external style cam angle sensor, but this is just to clean up the engine bay for me. That's all. This is all for art. But today's video is not just about cylinder heads. Really, I want to get to the stuff that's underneath this cart. I've got 3 engine builds going on right now, but all of that stuff is for the GSX, and you haven't seen it yet. That's a new addition to the garage. Got another engine stand. There's the Galant block, and earlier this week I dug my old 7-bolt block out of the shed and dragged it into my garage. It's going to need somewhere to live, and it's full of old stuff that I need to pull out and throw away. You've heard me talk enough about it in the previous video, and so I guess now it's about time for it to show up here. Also, it's not the only GSX block here in this video. I've actually got the 6-bolt block here right now too. And for what I want to show you, we actually need it because I can't truly demonstrate all of what's in this video with just the Gallant block. This 7-bolt actually has less wrong with it than the 6-bolt that I'm trying to build right now. It suffered a rod bearing failure and had an oiling system problem. I believe that this old numbers matching 7-bolt block really just needs a new rotating assembly and some basic machine work. Well, you can buy a new rotating assembly. 10 years ago, I put all the broken stuff right back together minus the rods and pistons, soaked some rags and WD, slapped them on top of the deck, and then shrink wrapped it all together with the funk and grime still inside and out, just to let that be its protectant. This is a 10-year test of that method, in a shed with no climate control whatsoever. But I also have this other 6-bolt engine packed up in the storage bin here to protect it while moving it around. I've been carting around trying to find a shop with the right machine and fixtures to do what I'm trying to do with it. You'll see precisely what that is in a minute because you don't know yet. I got both GSX blocks right here for you to see the contrast of what I have to go through to create two of the same things. The 6-bolt was always my dream, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 7-bolt platform. It's proven. I just always wanted that 6-bolt for its beefy main and rod journals. So I never really looked back at the 7-bolt block when I broke it. I just had the excuse I needed to build that monster 6-bolt. I don't believe that that venture has ended at all either. I think I have the fix for the janky main caps though. To get a better look at my plan though, I'm going to have to get this thing up on an engine stand. I know some of you are probably thinking that I powder coated over places where I shouldn't have, and nope, I just haven't peeled that tape yet. That's on purpose. It's going to be nice having a 6-bolt and a 7-bolt build for the same car going on at the same time right next to each other. Fastest way I can show you to put an engine on a stand is to put it up onto a high bench, and good luck with that one. Then put the ultralight and comparison steel engine stand onto it. You just need room for the legs below it. The stand doesn't add very much to its weight, and it's a short trip to the floor. Now let's roll this thing into the clean room under the lights and check out all that cool stuff I've been talking about. It's awesome to have a second engine stand in here so that we can contrast the 6 and 7-bolt 4G63s together. Thank you Patreons for the engine stand and everything everyone else is about to see in this video. This is the foundation for my King of Bling block that's been painstakingly powder coated just so that we can cover it all right back up again by bolting all kinds of things on top of it and then burying it in an engine bay. Never to be seen again. Hey, at least it won't rust. Let me tuck this Gallant block out of the way for now and make some room in here for what's coming next. You already know what it is. I told you I was going to unwrap it. It got rebuilt with 1mm oversized valves to correct seat depth. Then it was oiled, assembled, shrink wrapped in about 8 years ago by the shop that did all the work, and I've been dying to put it back to use ever since. You can see why. It's also the reason why there's another one in process of playing catch up. You can see how the plain flat finish of the cross-grain sanding techniques that I demonstrated in the previous video left me with sharp, clear reflections, and it does it on both the old King of Bling head, and they're even starting to show up in the early stages of the 120 grit on the King of Bling head's future twin. Of course, this head still needs a lot of work to be back to its former glory, but let's do a quick mock-up and get a look at what we're dealing with. And how about its old hat? Where's that thing? Hanging on the wall? It's had a lot of work done to it too. Just nothing on the outside. The outside now needs a lot of work as well, but these parts are still beautiful up on this block. Because the parts have already been polished before, there's a thing that I have that will rapidly restore the finish. If you already polished aluminum, you already know about this product, and you already save yourself hours of time and gallons of elbow grease because of it. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that right now. You can imagine that I have the capability though. I didn't just get the idea to start doing a polishing series for the GSX project. This was all inevitable from the very beginning. I have other old parts that can now demonstrate time capsule-like storage neglect for polishing examples as well. You might remember this part being the reason why I had to relocate my battery, add coil unplug ignition, and install an ignition amplifier. Well, here it is back after 10 years. It's been sitting in a cardboard box under my workbench, not even in a bag or anything. This just sets off an explosion of bling on the top half of my engine when it's on it, and all that stuff that I had to move or install actually cleaned up the engine bay in a big way. It was a big improvement to its curb appeal when the hood was open, and this thing also does a far better job of moving air through the engine than the old factory unit as well, so it's a win-win-win for me. It's rough right now, but it's absolutely gorgeous when it's polished into shape. There's plenty of old, previously polished parts whose finishes need to be restored, and that's going to let us try lots of different products and techniques throughout this series. But we can't have all the fun in just one video.
Many parts like these you already know about, but many you don't, because they're brand new parts, and they've never made an appearance here before. And those are precisely what y'all came here to see, so why are we still talking about them? My fix for the janky main cap suitcase handles that derailed this build twice already is this set of billet steel main caps from J Racing. My block's problem wasn't just with the original caps. It appears that the bore on the block side of things isn't exactly straight. The parting lines for the caps are all straight, but the bore hole itself is not. So not only do the new billet caps need to be cut to size for my crank, but I need this block line bored to ensure that the issue goes away forever. In my neck of the woods, I can line hone all day long, but that's not going to fix the problem. I need a line bore. I've had these billet caps for well over a year now, and it shows. Sorry, Jay. I should have oiled them. They work fine with the Kegley girdle, and they fit perfectly. Just try getting them installed during a pandemic is all. I'm stuck at the fit stage looking for a resource. When you see what else I'm going to be bolting onto this block, you'll understand why, aside from it being the actual main bore itself, that it deserves nothing less than perfection. The first thing I need to do for this mock-up is to put a front case on it for an example. Here we've got the factory 6-bolt front case, rebuilt with straight cut gears. Boy, was that a fun video to do. Lots of great tech, and you know this one's ready to go. While that's a great front case and all, the factory gear-driven oil pump is known to be prone to cavitation at high RPMs. I want a car that loves operating at high RPMs. I don't want its oil system to ever cavitate or to pump air. You've seen all the other extensive modifications I've done to the oil system, but my decision was made a while back that I wanted to try a different oil pump for my build this time around. I've drooled over this part for years because of its high RPM performance, and I couldn't resist taking the plunge. Here we are years later, and we're all getting to drool over this one together. This is the Frontline Fabrication 6-bolt 4G63 G-rotor oil pump and front case, and just like you, this is the first time seeing it too. These are lovingly made to order to be a perfect fit for your particular model of 4G63, and all I can say as someone who owns one now, you can't rush perfection. Just look at this milling job. I no longer need an oil filter housing, as there's an external regulator for it now, and I can relocate my oil filter wherever I need it to be. I doubt that there's a better front case anywhere for my goals for this build. I'm not going to crush it down on the dowel pins installing it yet, because I don't want to put a mark on anything while I'm removing it. And what do we want to open up next? How about the huge box in the back? That one looks fun. Yeah, real fun to get out without removing all the other little ones first. Thanks a lot. The box is really a dead giveaway. Moroso doesn't make an oil pan for a 7-bolt, but they do make one for a 6-bolt. And you guessed correctly about the contents of the box if you knew those things, because they make some great parts, but they don't make a whole lot of other 4G63 specific stuff other than this oil pan. I've been trying to keep that logo hidden for years because of that, but this stuff's been ready to install before each time I've tried to start my engine builds. These things were supposed to all be surprises, and I had jokes lined up sort of like how I did the spare gallant seat thing and how it turned into a Recaro. That was an expensive 10-year-old joke in development when it happened. The jokes I'm spoiling with this video make that one look like a bargain. This pan is not cheap, but it's a drop in the bucket. It's got a kick out to increase the car's overall oil capacity and volume. It's bunged for whatever oil return that I ever need to use, and it's baffled with flappy things in it to ensure that the pickup tube always stays buried in oil. It's probably the perfect complement for that G-rotor oil pump. In order to use this pan, I have to have stud the block first, and yeah, I have no plans to do a permanent install of any of this stuff in this video right now. But many of you can now understand why I slammed the brakes on this build when I encountered a problem with the mains. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the finish of the cylinder head or an oil clearance being out of spec. I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to do it better than the first one, and I owe it to every manufacturer who sees me bolting their parts to my block to make the best representation I can of their hard work. Simply put, they've put more effort and R&D into developing these products for us than I have in my block. These two parts equal the cost of every single other new part of the GSX rebuild that I've showed you so far, and I'm not even done yet. So if you're enjoying seeing this, thank my Patreons. I'm very fortunate to even have these parts, and I take none of this for granted. Suddenly, the head and crusty intake manifold are present. Remember, I'm going to clean all that stuff up, just not right now. Imagine it's all shiny because I said that I wanted to make the best representation I could of all these great custom part manufacturers. And that manifold really isn't cutting it at the moment. Sorry, Marco. I promise you I'll fix this for you. Let's grab another box, shall we? Kigley box for the Gallant springs. That's empty. I don't know how that got in here. How about this long white one? This is another one that I've drooled over for a while. This box is from Magnus Motorsports, so you know that it's going to have a really good time inside of it. Just waiting to be had. Something to increase the smiles per gallon with. And what should we have here but a billet aluminum gear-driven bracket for a Magnus Motorsports mechanical fuel pump. Yes, I did it. I took the plunge. I held the bare finished prototype pump number 2 in my hand at the shootout, and I knew that I had to have it. This unit's from the first production batch, and I was so excited to be one of the first to sign up and get mine when it was announced. You know, Marco has my permission to tell everyone that I was an impatient prick who emailed him relentlessly about it. But it's hard not to be excited about something like this. My horsepower goal is only between 600 to 730 horses, and I could have easily handled that with electric pumps, but you know, I've gone rounds with the Hyundai at half the power level because of weak DSM electrical systems and alternators, and even the GM alternators. I want to use that electricity for other things, so I wanted to leave nothing to chance. No matter what my power goals might be, or whatever fuel type I need to burn, this pump will always have the fuel I need on tap, and with no additional noise or drain on my electrical system whatsoever. This might be a street car, but it's not your average street car. This is not your average fuel upgrade either, but no matter what the future holds for my engine, I will always have enough fuel for it because of this upgrade. I can't do it justice with this mock-up without cams, cam gears, fuel lines, and really a finished installation already, but I'm thrilled to have more Magnus parts on my engine. Their decades-long contribution to the DSM community has been an enormous gift to all of us, and it's going to be fun for all of you watching me learn how to use this for the first time, because I have no idea what I'm doing with it yet. What else is in here? That's a ring grinder that I don't even need yet. Here's a water methanol solenoid for the Hyundai. I keep forgetting that I have this thing. I need to install it because it bleeds juice into the intake pipe while it's parked. Well, we'll get there. I've got a Hyundai video coming soon where we're doing other things with it. But this video is way cooler than that one, and I'm about to prove it. I'm boiling with anticipation to set my eyes and hands all over this one, just like with all these other parts that I've never seen until shooting this video. Some of which I've had for years, wanting to open them during my assembly if we could just make it there. The idea behind this next purchase began in August 2019 at the shootout. I had just freshly arrived at Buescher's Dyno Day, stepped out of my car and was greeted by several groups of enthusiastic fans that saw the Hyundai sneak in and park. This doesn't happen to me in my hometown. I turned the camera on and I began to cross the street, and I saw the Morrison Fabrications booth that I wanted to check out, and then a few feet from it I noticed Tom talking with a few classy DSM warriors. I totally interrupted his conversation.
Why was I talking so slow?
Gotcha.
Jafro!
What's up, man?
What's up?
It's the God, dude. It's the God.
What's up, brother?
Great to see you.
Tom was the first person to ever convince me to drive 9 hours to the shootout, and I keep coming back. I had to say hi because that invite multiplied my superpowers exponentially, and after a brief meeting, I descended upon the Morrison Fabrications booth in all my divine glory to witness the lamentations of the meek. For it is only they who inherit the contents of my wallet.
You know, I don't even know which order to open this in. Do I go for the gold first? Do I go for the aftermarket support first? Do I go... I'm really enjoying this at the moment, I have to tell you. Let's go for the gold. Oh, I have to do it. You know what this is.
This one is the Small Runner Zona V-band manifold in hot side. It's made from 321 stainless steel with the CNC milled flange that fits all iterations of the DOHC 4G series DSMs. I had intended to talk during this unboxing, but the see and feel sensors are so overloaded at this moment that my mouth had to shut down in order to deal with all the extra processing. Aside from shadows and the focus problems associated with filming shiny things at short distances, there are a few things that cameras just won't be able to convey no matter how many Ks you can fit into your video quality. From these handcrafted collectors to the consistency of the heat lines in every single weld, these parts aren't just carefully engineered performance parts, each one's a one-of-a-kind work of art. I really enjoyed receiving regular progress reports once work began. It was almost like getting a sonogram of a thing that you conceived because each one is custom tailored to your car's equipment. This is not my engine or turbo, but I want you to take a moment to appreciate the clearancing of the accessories, the wastegate dump, and the downpipe on this unit. The small runner unit supports 78 pound-per-minute turbos while maintaining good mid-range torque and improved spooling characteristics. I intend for this to be a street car, and by street I mean that I want its drivability at less than full throttle to not require excess training or an engineering degree. At my intended power level, this may be a challenge, but I don't wish to sacrifice any technology or comfort for its occupants. Those are the reasons behind my decision. My build lands in the Restomod territory, and that's where I intend to keep it. Premium parts are allowed if not required. This is why I always said this build would be very different from the Hyundai. But we're not done yet. There's more in this box. Here's the flex section for the downpipe. Double-walled stainless steel flex section. This is the part where I join the hot side to the rest of the exhaust that I already have on the car. So Jafro's going to get to do some engineering and fabrication work. The welds on this part that will be oriented underneath the engine where nobody will ever see it are still every bit as spectacular as the parts that everyone will see.
Wow. This is incredible. Yeah, this is a lot like that moment when I got in my F-150 at the dealership and, you know, put the keys in the ignition for the first time. My reaction was, I can't believe this is mine. I am so lucky to have this. And I'm so grateful to have it. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
There's even an oil drain solution available for the Zona rotor turbos that goes with this manifold. Naturally, I requested it, and that's what this appears to be.
Oh, cool. Hey, thanks. Good keychain. One for the oil pan.
Yep. Friendly reminder about your hose length.
Aha. Okay. I get the gist of that. I got it. I will be careful trimming that.
It's nice to have that issue solved already.
I know what those are. Those are the clamps. Brace yourself.
There's the front half of the downpipe for the turbine outlet.
That's what I'm talking about.
You can see there's V-band flanges on both ends to simplify fitment and maintenance. There's also two O2 sensor bungs on it for both a narrowband and a wideband oxygen sensor. One has a heat sink, and that's for the wideband sensor to help preserve it. Wasn't that thoughtful of them? The other one's for your narrowband. Because of where all this sits in my engine bay, this is now the front and center of all the attention whenever this hood's open. Now my efforts to polish engine parts is not the centerpiece of the build, but merely a complement to it, and that's okay. The polishing's just one of the details now, instead of the main event, and that's what I was going for with version 4. I still have one more box left to open though. If you need Morrison Fabrications to supply you with your 44mm MVR tile wastegate, they'll be much obliged. I appreciated that. I didn't bother asking them if they'd give me my turbo too, but, you know, maybe next time. I've given enough information already to make what that turbo is pretty easy to figure out, but it's not here to show you right now. The focus of my priorities has just been to get my block to a state where I can put all these great parts to use, finally, and it's coming soon. Several attempts left this project stuck in my quality control, and Ballast did everything they could to help me clear it out. I just needed different resources than what's available to me in my area. They don't have the machine I need, and I struck out more than once trying to find it by myself. I knew it was time to go to the place that always has all of the right answers. Not the internet. Not the internet is an amazing place. Not the internet is the place where I find the best answers to whatever's bothering me at any given time. Not the internet is where you'll find all the like-minded people that give a let's go about the thing that you're doing. Just go find that event and ask questions. Ironically, you're most likely to find that event on the internet, so you can't fully escape it. All this sounds like work, but the time savings that you achieve by going there and doing the thing is just unbeatable. Just rely on degrees of separation within the community to find the people that can help you get from point A to point B. People doing the thing know all the other people that did their things for them, and You know, the more of these events you attend, the more of those kinds of friends you're going to make. So after a 2-hour drive and walking 2 miles from where I parked, I found myself at the World Cup Finals. I'm just going to shut up for a minute and let you feel the energy here.
Round 2 coming to the lane right now. Wow, what a run! And the final pair would have been Vlad, but he got taken in the Supra instead, and Schultz, the 95 Talon 2-liter on board. Hoffman Estates, Illinois, was the number 6 qualifier with a 7:16. Let's see if we can see a 6-second run.
Great job, Devin. Keep chipping away at it, brother. I'll always remember being here to see it myself. And I've learned that if you hang out at Booston long enough, you might be lucky enough to spot a wild Joe Bucci roaming around in his natural habitat. This video's just chock full of all my favorite people, isn't it? There's even a no-crust GSX sighting in the stands. And where else can you find all the cars, camaraderie, talent, and resources in one place, practicing their craft and having such a good time doing it? There are even world-famous celebrities here. Point is, even if you don't know the people at the event or who specializes in what, someone around you at these events does. Florida man sighting. See, there's domestics. Isidora de los Santos sighting.
Here we go.
These are the things that I enjoyed building and doing even before there was YouTube. I apologize for interrupting the polishing series for these ramblings, parts unveilings, and events, but I felt like the context was needed because my polishing work isn't the main feature of this build. Not anymore. It's just a proverbial refrigerator on which to bolt other people's artwork. I'm no deity, and I stumble and fail just like everyone else. I'm just willing to fail on a public and global scale. Failure is only one of many possible stopping points for me at just about anything, but you have to stop in order to fail. And there's never a moment that's passed through any of this where I felt like I was finished with this 6-bolt block. If Billet Mains doesn't prove that, then I don't know what else would. So now that we're done with the foreshadowing of my future struggles, I now get to pack this block and all these awesome parts right back up again. It was tough to find the resources I needed to accomplish what I'm trying to do with this machine work during the times we're living in, but thanks to a simple invite to the World Cup that I got from a friend that I met at the shootout, I met all of the people that I needed to help me solve my issue with this 6-bolt, because they came to do the thing. The vendors, manufacturers, racers, venues, fans, and organizers alike all need you at these events. If you're building a thing, then eventually you're going to need them too. So go get involved, do the things, meet the people, buy their parts. That's how you feed it. And along your journey, lend a hand. Don't underestimate the power behind small gestures, because small gestures can change outcomes. Just like those invitations I got to events. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Norman.
Tom sent me this box, too. There's an all-wheel drive transmission in it. Everybody go subscribe to Tom and upvote his comment, too.
Aside from discarding parts and mounting this 7-bolt onto an engine stand, there's not a whole lot more that I can do with this one until parts arrive. It's a different block that half of my parts stockpile doesn't fit, so I've got a lot of ground to make up still. But this is where that starts. Special thanks go out to Patreon for all you've done to impact what everyone sees here. Your sacrifices to my cause are very obvious in this episode, and they make the greatest impact on my ability to afford to go long distances and do all the things. So thanks go out to everyone who's watching me fail forward on a global scale, subscribing for that front row seat, stirring up the comments, and rating my videos. Those are all small gestures too, and they mean a lot to those of us that are wasting away in an office chair editing videos for you. So if you did those things and you hear me talking, know that I'm grateful for you too. You're all a part of it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and stay tubed.